Dog to Dog Lunchtime Q&A. We are here. We're not all here, but we're here. What part of us is here? Welcome, all of you dear dog peeps.
Marcy Simmons is on.
Hey, Marcy.
Hi.
And Sherry.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us again for something that we hope will be helpful and ongoing for you. I'm Scott. For those of you who may be joining us the first time, this is Darcy. We are the master trainers at dog2dog training.com. And we're here to answer your questions and address your issues with your dog. And believe it or not, we have people every single day, and we've done this forever. So people will ask questions with that look on their face like, oh my gosh, I got this dog, and I'm sure I have these issues that, everyone often has a grouping of very, very similar concerns. One of the first and most common, we've talked about this a little bit, where we're going to talk about this whole kind of concept today. Sherry gave us some really good questions. I've had some other questions come in from a student that actually, probably 10 years ago, that I met at Costco. And she says, I've got the same problem. He was doing really good. But when people come to the house, the dog mobs them. Okay, jumps up, swirling around the person, barking, licking, grabbing their clothes. Okay, so the question, what do I do about the dog engaging with people coming into my house, my family? My husband comes home and it's just lunacy. Here at Dog to Dog, we always pull that apart. We look at the behavior. We give you the why. You must answer the why before you can get to the how. You can change the behavior. So in a dog world, young dogs particularly will do that with older dogs in a pack. They'll be very, very over the top. They're jumping on top of whatever. And they learn really, really rapidly that is against pack law. You're going to have, those of you who've gone to dog parks, those of you who've had, dogs, family dogs come together, you'll pretty much see right at that moment that pack structure is not only identified, but it's put in place. And it's put in place because I'm going to bite you, if you continue acting this way. Okay, we don't have you bite your dogs. Tastes bad, gets hair in your mouth. Okay, we're not doing that. So we want you to understand that the time to pinch this behavior off, the time to address this behavior is not when you're opening the door for someone who has knocked on your door or rung the doorbell. Darcy and I, if we had $1 for every person who we meet at the front door, bent over, holding their dog by the collar, so they're kind of looking at you like this, the dog won't hurt you. It's all right. He's just really, really, really excited. And there's your pain right there. The people are obviously kind of embarrassed. Oh my gosh, the dog trainers are here. Yeah, but that's why we're there, is to help you. So you need to back up. You got to back up and look at the fact that the dog needs to be under the law, under order. We'll show you a little bit here, but we need to make it clear. This is a question and answer thing. We get people that give us back and forth feedback. We love to hear from you. This isn't an online obedience course. Okay, this is question and answer specific. We'll tell you what the whys, some of the things you might try to help you with this, but every dog's different, every person's different, and there is no
magic wand. Like I say that all the time, there's no magic wand when it comes to when you see a dog in a certain behavior. A lot of times it's much more complex than, oh, I just need my dog to, stop jumping up, or I just need my dog to stay, or I just want to walk my dog, in a mannerly fashion. So just think about it, that when you're wanting to pinch off behavior, I mean, we always back it up. And so we look at pack paradigm, what's happening there, how's the dog, how are the humans, and then we, give you training modules that you can do so that you're actually training when the situation isn't necessarily occurring, but you're setting it up. So if your dog jumps up on people and you're going to do a training session, see, then I usually have, family members or kids or somebody's coming in my house, and I will just say, hey, can you help me out for a second? So I'm like trying to be proactive about it, not reactive to, the UPS man is at my door and he rings the door and my dogs go crazy. See, that's not really the time to be trying to fix something.
Right. So if that makes sense, we are going to show you a couple of things that we want you to consider with someone coming into your home. Very strange behavior to a dog. It's exciting, or it's fearful, or it's get the heck out of my house, axe murder. Depending on your dog, what the drive structures are in your dog. Everyone is very different, but the source of calming this is always the law, is always obedience. The dog is looking for obedience. They look for structure. What this stimulus comes in, what then is expected? Well, we don't provide anything, right? So the dog basically does people get so angry. They're trying to grab their dog and it's dancing around the person at the front door. And, excuse me, oh, pardon me, excuse me. That it's common. People, it's common. It happens all the time, every day. So now, really quickly, if you go to our Facebook page, Dog to Dog Training, you go to the computer, our website, dogtodogtraining.com. There will be links there that will take you to our online training, where we will step by step give you what you need to live joyfully with your dog. All of these things will be addressed. Some of our students, I don't know, in your mind, you have a different picture of what obedience is, probably a little toward trick training, which is not obedience. And so in your head, well, yeah, you guys are going to show me that, and it doesn't, but I need this. Trust us. It's all, we will address all of those things. Food, kids with food, people at the front door, the dog standing in the middle of the dining room table consuming your meal, all of the things that happen, barking at a fence, barking at another dog, barrier behavior, the kids walking in front of all of these things, all of them, we will discuss the principles behind it. And so today, all right, we're coming in the front door. Now, usually the problem is people will say, well, once the dog has greeted the person, jumped up on him or whatever, say, oh, yeah, the dog loves me. The dog will calm down. All right, well, the dog is demanding what? Right? One of the three heroines that we talk about here at Dog to Dog: eyes, voice, touch. Often by jumping up, you're going to get all three. You're going to be looked at, you're going to be grabbed or touched or pushed or whatever you're touched, and you're talking either to the person or the dog, but you're focused on the dog, and the dog is sucking. It's the most wonderful thing ever. So first, we will talk about a response, a training response that can be done, as Darcy mentioned, with people that that will help you with this. Because strangers aren't going to be helpful here. You can't really say, okay, I'd like you to do this to my dog. You know, you need to have this with family or whatever that's coming in. We call it glue. Okay? We're going to have the glue response. So, what does the dog expect when they jump up? Touching, attention. People usually will say, oh, they want attention, whatever. Exactly. Push that button. Jump up, jump up. You know, and I've got it. The humans aren't happy, but I don't really care, or I'm not even aware they're unhappy. And so when you get mad and grab the dog, they're like, whoa, what are you doing? You know, the dog literally doesn't understand what you're doing. So the dog jumps up, and we are going to catch the front legs. Now, if it's a little teeny dog, you have to bend down to catch little two legs there, right? The object is not to hurt the dog. Now, for years and years and years and years, the response to this was a knee jerk to the chest of the dog. All right?
Well, and I still hear that all the time.
Oh, for sure. We see it, actually.
With how many Facebook groups they have for different dogs and breeds and all that stuff. I was reading just yesterday, somebody said, oh, well, you just knee the dog in the chest.
Injury.
It's not my favorite.
No, it's violent and it's injury. And if your dog, your dog is on a scale as to physical, what we call hardness, okay, resiliency to unpleasant mental or physical stimulus, right? It may in fact be seen as play. If you have a dog that's hard, that's resilient, and they're testing, there's an element there of, I want to see, I don't think this person should be here. So the bump is fairly intense to see what the human's going to do. And you react by a knee jerk. It says, you can have issues. I mean, if that dog is, oh, all right, we going to combat? You know, is that what we're doing? So glue, book. No, we're not squeezing. Don't squeeze. It looked like I'm milking each other. You know, hold on, right? And firmly, but we're not hurting them in any way. We're just holding it up. And we want their tummy to be stretched pretty good. So we're going to bring it up. Now, depending on your dog, will depend on how quickly they start. And I don't like this, right? As soon as that starts, you're going to count to 10. You know, count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can release the hands off. And the dog is presented with glue. That is not what I expected when I pushed that button. It works very quickly, depending on the dog's intelligence, number one, on its stubborn behavior. I mean, they're all different. Will depend on whether you have to do it a couple of 3 times. But it is a non-invasive, non-injurious response that you can have people do who can, right? That will help stop that behavior.
One of the things, if I'm doing training, see, if I know somebody's coming to my house and I don't have time to mess with it, I think ahead. I don't just cross my fingers and hope to die. And if I have extra dogs in my house or something like that, I'll actually put a note on my front door that says, dog in training, I will get there as quickly as possible. So the doorbell rings, I wasn't expecting somebody. See, then I can just quickly take my dog to the crate, because I use a crate, and I can just put her away if that was my issue. You know, there's more complex obedience things that I've trained, so I can go lay down and stay, and the dog does not move at all. But if you're in those beginning phases, don't choose easy. Choose easy. So I will then just tuck the dog away for a minute and do my business, and then I will go get the dog back out. So when you're doing these things, just think ahead and plan for, you know, when you know people are going to be coming in.
All right. So now we gave you glue, right? Glue is point specific. It's actually designed to use really when there's been failure. All right. No, I mean, we don't judge, we're not criticizing here, but really if you have to do glue, then what it means is, according to how we look at things, the dog has had access to something or someone in an uncontrolled manner. And that's why the glue takes place, because the dog is zoom, jump up, right? Okay, I'll be right back.
Now, when you're doing that, just make sure that it's quick. See, if you try to talk to the dog, you're like, get off, and you start chattering. See, the minute a dog jumps up on me, I'm like right away I grab the front paws. I don't wait.
Now, almost always the dog is off leash. All right. Okay, so look, here's how we would address this to you. You say, if you're going to take your dog to the door in an untrained state, all right, then it should always be on a leash. Well, I don't always have a leash on that. Then hang a leash on the doorknob or close to the door. All right. This behavior has caused everything from annoyance to knocking grandma backwards down off the front steps, which was bad. Okay, so we've got the leash, we hook the dog up, and we keep the dog close to us. Now, this behavior is to continue as that person comes into the house. This particularly is true with friends, family members. The dog just loves them. They love the dog, you know, whatever. And it gets out of hand and everybody's laughing and stuff until, you know, they're not. The dog's up on the back of the couch and walking over their head, you know, whatever. And at first we think, oh, look, they just let you know. No, what you're seeing is a very dominant play reaction there. The dog is demanding, you know, certain things. And I mean, really, until you've been clipped by a dew claw or whatever, you know, walking over your face, dog owners, again, are on a spectrum. So they're either really embarrassed or that they become angry or whatever, or it's like, well, whatever, it's a dog, you know. And so, I mean, your people coming in your house learn really fast that, you know, if you go in their house, their dog's gonna walk on your face, you know, that kind of thing. So we are for responsible dog ownership, which means there could be two kinds of people that come into your front door, right? Let's use them. We'll say Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith comes into your door. She's a dog lover. She loves your dog. She likes it. She thinks that she's waiting to be able to pet it. But being a dog, you say, that's great. I'm going to show you what you're going to do kind of at the door. We've got the dog on the leash. No, you're not going to approach Mrs. Smith right now. Okay, that's Mrs. Smith's going to come in. She's going to sit down. We're going to do a little something we'll show you here in a second. And on your command or your release, then she's going to be able to pet the dog. What if it's Mrs. Johnson? Names have been changed. Protect the innocent. Right. Mrs. Johnson, she comes in. She's not a dog person. She's one of these. You know, don't worry. The dog won't hurt you. Right. How many? What? Yeah, she's afraid. You know, so we don't want to do that. So we're going to do the exact same thing. The behavior is the same. You're going to prevent initial contact at the door. Mrs. Johnson's going to kind of, okay, come in. Don't worry. I have the dog. Come on in. And you're going to keep the dog proximate to you, we call it. There's going to be a very narrow field where the dog will be kept. And that's going to be that. So we introduce to the dog the concept that you do not have capacity to join physically with every person that comes in here or any person given any circumstance. So if we have little children with food, you know, whatever, I ought to go get some of the food from these little wacko humans. Okay, because they're obviously weak, unless it's a 2-year-old, right? 2-year-olds are not weak. They are like tornadoes on 2 legs. And we have seen many times where the only person in the family who can control the dog is the dominant 2-year-old. child. Come here, stupid dog. You know, that kind of thing, right? So I'll show you. We're going to hook up. I have a dog here somewhere.
She's
I think
sleeping.
Gypsy's, yeah, she's dead behind us, I swear. And we will see. This is a very simple thing. Now, we will add to this that there are several variations on every single command that you learn. They are not tricks. They are designed to be applied. We are applied obedience people. If it doesn't help you in your life, then why learn it? Right? We're very, very strict that way. Okay, so I'm going to be demonstrating Darcy with much pleasant voice. She's going to be kind of describing what we're doing here. So it's very, very simple. We start with a leash. That means that the dog needs to have a collar on. Okay, so if you can set this up with family members or people, that's great. Like Darcy mentioned, you know, so we're going to say, could you help me for a minute? You know, whatever. Now, neighbors are great. Hello, this is weird, we know. But can you give me 5 or 10 minutes? You know, whatever. I'm going to ask you to do something really weird. You're going to come over, you're going to ring the doorbell, you're going to knock on the door, you're going to ring the doorbell. I will answer when I do, but I'm going to be doing some training with my dog. That is best because you begin to control the environment. We know the dog's got a collar. We know the dog has a leash, so we can attach the dog to us. Okay? All right.
So when you're asking neighbors or friends and family,
Yes.
most of the time they are happy to help you because you're actually being responsible and training the dog, and they get to see the improvement. So I'm gonna.
You move that, I'll move this.
Howdy! Here I am with Gypsy, right? Okay, Gypsy is wearing, just for your information, a martingale collar. Okay, it is a flat strap collar with the capacity to close a little bit so that she can't slip it. Now, the reason I mention this is because sometimes when we start doing this, the dog goes foaming ape crap. And they'll duck out. They'll turn. So you guys, I'm sure some of you've seen this. The dog's pulling this way, and we're, oh no! And we get one of those ears slipped through the collar. Oh, the dog's right back to doing what it was. Or, crap, the person has stepped forward, and the dog, boom, right out the front door. And the dog bolts. And the greatest game of all time starts. And I've had, yeah, my family came over for dinner and we didn't eat for an hour because we all chased the dog around the neighborhood, right? Okay, so all of your strength is across your hips. So I want you to have, I don't care which side it's on, by the way. So you're going to have the leash right here, and we're going to pin the dog right here. Okay, that's what we're doing. And so I move, she moves. She can't really do a whole lot. Then we go in the house and what's that? Oh, nothing. Okay. We sit down. The dog is still right here. Okay. I'll take a half bite around my hand. I do not wrap it around my arm so the dog can drag me. Just around my hand. And the dog, it won't take very long before they start. What are you doing? I want to, yeah, I know what you want. But if it's Mrs. Smith we talked about, right? Then in a moment after you have spiked off and come back down and we settle, okay, then I will allow you to have access with Mrs. Smith, depending on how much training the dog has, how mannerly the dog is. If it's Mrs. Johnson, right here. Right here. Now, do you see? You must look forward. The object is not to allow the environment to degrade to a point. That's where you're saying, pain, pain. I hate this dog. I am so sorry. I swear my family told me and convinced me to get the way. We hear it every single day. When in truth, it's just a simple, uncontrolled environment. What is the purpose of obedience? It is law, right? Not to kill the dog. That's not the purpose. Okay? It's law. What is law for? It brings order. So that you have order. Order means we don't have uncontrolled environments. That's what it means. Okay? So this isn't now there were things that happened. I won't mention the name of there's an animated program that was very, very popular. It came on and they had the dog trainer, and it was funny, ha ha ha, and she was evil, and whatever, and hurt the dog. That none of that is necessary. That's not what we're about. We were about controlling your environment in a manner that your dog understands, because that's hard. What's your problem? They're coming in through the house. They come in through a door. Only humans do doors. Dogs don't do doors. Dogs do pee. Okay? The dog comes in, or the person comes in. It's mine. Oh, a new play toy. And they're dancing around. Oh my gosh. Now, Darcy and I, being professionals, right? We go in all the time. And people often will say to us, wow, that's weird. My dog usually is way more out of control than that. We don't give them anything. We come in, we're calm, that we don't do the, oh, isn't how cute the dog, See, and stuff degrades. There is no control there. By the time the control is back on the dog, either the dog, like Darcy mentioned, the dog's back in the crate, whatever, or let me kick this stupid dog outside, that the dog has already received what it needed, what it desired, and they won't change. They're not going, dogs aren't nice. They're not moral. They don't say, oh, I'm going to be kind because my mom is kind. Folks, it doesn't work. And within a family, you can see by how the dog acts with each person what the dog considers that person's rank to be. And usually it will be directly related to how much control you have of any particular environment. That is so true that when we do obedience, why don't you explain why we ask people to do obedience everywhere for me? You can spin that back.
Oh. Okay. So if we just do obedience in the house, and then you have the dog leashed and you go outside, a lot of times dogs will be like school's out. So they go out over the threshold and then they light up and they're like, woohoo, I get to do what I want to do. So when I'm doing obedience, I do in the house. I do outside in the front. I do it in the backyard. If I am a person who goes hiking, then I will do a little obedience on the trail before I even start. If I go to a dog park, I will do it outside the dog park. I will do it inside the dog park before I ever turn my dog loose.
Where in the house would you do obedience?
So I do the obedience everywhere. So anywhere the dog is allowed to go. So if I always think, oh, laundry rooms, bathrooms, hallways, walk-in closets, dad's office. Everywhere. Because by doing obedience in the house everywhere, or in my backyard, my front yard, I'm applying, this is mine, I'm the boss, and it's a joyful thing. Like, we teach you how to have it be short, intense, happy bursts of training that you love and the dog loves. But if you just only work inside your house and you do not prove it to the dog that law exists everywhere, then you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah. And if you do your obedience training correctly, if you are led to that which is accurate, complete information about the dog, which we pride ourselves on doing, then your dog, a magical thing, it is kind of magical looking. It's not, it's just pack behavior. But what will happen is your dog begins to trust you, has confidence in you, therefore they will look to you when stimulus enters their environment. Whether you're outside and it's a dog out here, dog coming this way, or it's bing bong, you know, knock, 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 whatever. Rather than, oh my God, it's my house, you know, whatever, they will
Look to you.
Mom,
Yeah.
axe murder. Yeah, Mom says. No, that's not. Well, okay. You know, whatever. You have control of the environment. You're at the order. I am safe here. That's what your dog looks for.
Now, whether it's something you never want to occur, I don't mind if I'm at home, Gypsy's just, you know, doing her thing, we're in the kitchen, whatever. But somebody comes to my front door and she lights up. Then I can tell her, go over here, lay down, stay, and leave it. Like, stop responding to that stimulus. I like that whoever is dropping a package off at my house or some stranger, because I tend to get a ton of those on my door trying to sell me things or
packages.
Yeah, just whatever reason they're at my front door. I like it that they know I have a big black Airedale, and it just kind of cuts everything off. It's like, that's not a place I ever really want to go in and explore in an uninvited manner.
Now, Sherry asked a couple of questions. Thank you, Sherry, that are related to this. We use the term immersion a lot. So really what you just saw me do is a form of immersion, which means that we are going to immerse the dog in an environment where it's stimulus rich. Now, whether that's grandma has come or friends have come or children, whatever. So now we have an environment with a whole bunch of stimulus. We're going to keep the dog close to us and allow the dog to experience the stimulus in a controlled fashion. Okay? Obedience is designed to separate the dog from you while still maintaining contact. That is the whole purpose of the stay command. If you teach stay correctly, I don't care if a marching band with bratwurst comes through your front room, the dog will stay there. That's part of the deal. So you are then relieved of the physical burden. But to begin, Sherry asked about how do we deal with our dog's aversion to cats. Now that's really weird because some dogs want to chase the cats like all the cartoons show you, and other dogs are petrified of cats. Her dog has reason to be petrified because the Hitler of all cats lives in their house. So Dexter is most unpleasant when he wants to be, and her Staffordshire Terrier screams like a baby.
Because if Dexter's like in a mood, he'll like go after him like he wants to bite him in the butt, and Joe's screaming.
Yeah. Oh, he's after me, whatever, right? So aversion to cats, aversion to boxers. That's what you said, right, Sherry? So whatever. Now look, when I was a young trainer, I used to say, oh, that's ridiculous. You know, dogs don't. Oh, yes, dogs can be bigots. They can be very biased. And I have seen many, I had no explanation for it. They weren't abused by that person, hair color, what, they haven't. It's just the dog doesn't care for it. Teenage boys, the way they move, how they sound and stuff, some dogs, I don't like that. You know, I don't want to hear it. So it doesn't matter. But if you have something that your dog has an aversion to, first thing we want to do is immerse the dog. But not too fast, too close. Beware of deep water training. Do not kick your child into 12 feet of water. Oh, I'll be dipped. I guess they don't know how to swim. You know, don't do that. Distance, right? Give an example. All right, there's these people that come, let's say it's a boxer, Sherry, right? And we want to go to a soccer game with nieces, nephews, grandkids, children, whatever. And we come in, these people are always here with a dog. My dog doesn't like it. And I start to struggle. He's okay with other things, whatever, but this one thing, cat, boxers, other dog, whatever it is, the little children running back and forth with the ball, I don't know. Back up. People don't stop 10 yards from the soccer pitch. Have a chair. You saw me. We're going to keep the dog right here. Yes, but I know what you want. But you have to stay here with me. Keep them close, not leash length. Keep them close to you. Eventually, the dog will sit down, kind of looking around like, what the heck's going on? Once you've got that spike off, the dog begins to immerse, to see, to draw in. Then we get up and we walk 2 more steps and we sit down. If you will master that one principle, it's an animal. The dog. They're not cognitive like we are. So you can't say, okay, well, you got that. All right, let's go right up in. That won't work. Depending on your dog, you're going to have issues again. But if you go, yeah, we'll get better.
So when he talks about deep water training, what this is not appropriate for is if you, I mean, we have heard this multiple times, but we have a couple clients in specific that their dog does not like other dogs. And so they're trying to walk past a fence and there's a dog behind the fence and the dog lights up and then you get caught in the crosshair because the dog's starting to foam. And you are like saying, well, I want the dog to be able to walk straight past, you know, this dog and whatever.
I'm going to force it.
And you're too close.
Right.
Like, do not do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, don't
like,
force
to
it.
me, I am, this is a thing that is just unwanted and it is a bad place. I can feel it. See, I'm always like feeling the energy and I'm looking around my environment. If I see something that I think, that's not a good idea, I don't go there. I turn around and I go the other way or I get out of there. And I do that a ton, off-leash stuff, dog parks, hiking. If your dog is
reactive,
yeah, just don't cross your fingers and hope to die and hope that it turns out okay. You know, dogs are sharp on one end, and it's like if they decide they want to get into it, don't get in the middle of it.
Now, let's make it clear. Can you teach your dog via training to tolerate that kind of stimulus? All of these that she's talked to? Absolutely. Yes. Can we force the dogs to like one another? No. No, you can't do that anymore. You can't with people. Okay? But we most certainly can insist that you will tolerate. I've had police dogs where we had several of them and it was a riot because you'd see them out in the yard. They're all turned butt on, we call it. I'm not looking at them. Why? Because we, the kings, were there. We control that space. That's not your space. Get along. We don't care what you do. If you need to go over there and lay down and he goes over here, that's fine. But you won't fight on our turf. So training is almost limitless, really, truly, provided that you're, you don't have neuroses or some of the really severe neurotic stuff with fear and aggression or anything like that. Those need to be sorted and pulled apart, and you manage certain behavior up to what can be done. But for all the vast majority of dogs, you can train for what you want. Remember what I said. Here we come, and here's the fence. We got the dog on the other side of the fence. Stimulus. That's all it is. Stimulus. And a barrier. Oh. Oh, yeah? He's saying that's mine. Well, you're mine, you know, because I'm over here, whatever. If you've trained properly, the dog will look at you. Oh, that's fine, we're fine. Got it, walk past. I have done it hundreds and hundreds of times, folks. It's perfectly possible, but it is not done in an environment of, you're doing this, you know what? That is not, number one, the magic pill for training is praise. So if you remove the ability to praise the dog for accomplishing law, for being in the place and controlled like we ask them to be, you're going to fail. Can I slap an e-collar on a dog and burn him through it? Sure. Have you accomplished anything? No, not really. Number one, the dog's well aware it's wearing a collar. Number two, you're using force to stop force in that particular case. Something that I have found, we have found over and over in our careers, that it's just not the best way. It's not the best way. Force like that is not necessary. Okay, so remember glue, right? That's open. We call that open forum. The dog is not leashed, or if it is, you really haven't got control, and the dog jumps up. So what we're teaching the dog there, that doesn't really work out very well. You know, oh, I'm stuck. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck. There are probably 80% of dogs that will work on. Other dogs are either going to be too mouthy. If you have a dog that's really, really snippy, don't do that. But what I showed you the other way, where we keep the dog, just a moment, please, click, we proactively begin to control the environment. We're going to have the dog on the leash, but we're not going to stand back here with the dog. Oh, God, don't do that. Bring the dog in close to your hip. You got about this much leash with your thing. And if necessary, I'll just open the door. I'm just going to go back here and sit. Come on in. Come on in. You know, whatever. And I'm going to keep the dog right close to me. As I say, in our obedience, you see that we have several layers that actual exercise that will allow you a greater spread of ability to apply that in that environment.
I want to talk about, because Sherry was asking, because some of this stuff is occurring in her backyard. So if you just turn the dog out and you have no way to stop the behavior or control it, see, that is when I make a yard leash. So I just get, a clip like this. You can buy it at Home Depot, Lowe's, IFA, your
most hardware stores.
Yeah, anything like that. So I buy one of these. Then I buy some rope that is between 10 and 12 feet long. And I tie a knot in the end of it, and knots every 18 inches about. So if I have a dog that has a problem with stuff going on in the backyard and they start to run from you, or let's say they start to light up, and then there's the cat and all this kind of stuff. See, the minute I see that there's an issue, but there's a yard leash on the dog, make sure you have shoes on, please.
Yeah.
But the dog has, a 10 to 12 foot tail. So something starts to occur. See, I don't say much. I'm not telling the dog to cut it out, and I'm using all my words. I come out the back door, and I'm heading for the dog quickly. And just in my abrupt movement, a lot of time dogs will be like, what the crap is that? But then I have the ability to step on the leash. I'm not touching them. I'm not talking to them. I might be sliding my eyes across like, what are you doing? But then I can take the leash, pull the dog back, and do whatever else I need to do.
And that will depend on your dog. That right there, the disciplinary cycle, that depends entirely on your dog.
So that is one way to stop certain things in the backyard that I, when we talk about using a leash, I actually will make a yard leash.
Because we're snails, right? You see what Darcy's saying there? We're snails. The dog's not stupid. You come down, she comes down her steps. I'm coming. The dog goes, I'm out of here. Well, there's no way. She's not going to catch Gypsy. Not if she doesn't want to be caught. But Gypsy doesn't do trigonometry. And she has that 12-foot tail. They're not even aware that you can get on top of that. And you not only are able to get to the dog, but you break a bad habit. which is they can't get me. If I'm out loose and they can't get me. Yeah, we can. And the dog will stop. That's once they know you're going to have them lay down like, whoa, here comes mom. Okay. Does that make sense? Right? That kind of thing. What she said is so, so important when she said quickly that you can't do that. Open the door. Shut up! I told you, Sig, not shut up! Whatever. Then you go out to chase the dog. Guys, that will make no sense to your dog at all. If you've said this is unacceptable behavior, when you respond, it's got to be the minute the unacceptable behavior starts, you go to deal with it. And there are as many different ways to apply the principle of discipline. It is not required that you have a ton of force on the dog. That's not required. It's just that disobedience must be less pleasant than obedience. Isn't that a simple statement? We screw it up all the time. As amongst ourselves, frankly, amongst humans and stuff.
And so then when you say that, then on the other side is, see, people just want the dog to comply, but they do not praise the dog.
When they do comply.
Yeah, and I mean, you see it all the time. And with our emotional support dog course, we were running a test, and that was the very first thing. People started to get stressed, and they stopped praising the dog. So I'm always looking for opportunity to praise my dog when she's in compliance with what the law is. If I ask her to sit, and she sits, I am loving on the dog. If I ask her to lay down, I am loving on the dog. Always, I mean, that is what they're for. If you can't touch and love on the dog, I mean, that is one of my favorite things about having a dog, is the touching and the loving and the bond. So touch and love and hold and hug your dogs when they're being good dogs.
That is our purpose here at Dog to Dog. It is our purpose. We feel we are one. We feel extremely strongly about this. We live what we preach. The dog is capable of far more than even is being shown. I have seen dogs do remarkable things for their people. I don't know the reasons for all of them, why they can, but they are a species who chose us. They like us. That is, we see that, and it's very warming to us. So we are here to lead you, okay? We're actually really nice people, usually, and we'll lead you to joy with your dog. What does that mean? It means that you can do exactly what Darcy just said without the other side. So we don't have a dark side. I just love this dog. If she only would, whatever, all of those wouldn'ts and woulds, that is what we're here for. So Dog to Dog on Facebook. We have our Confidence and Social Immersion posted there. You'll see a number of pictures, videos that we post on there. Our Training Tips Tuesdays come out on there. Our website, dog.com, training.com, I'm sorry. That'll take you onto our website where there'll be links that you can come on to our online training. We've had a tremendous amount of success with our online training. We have big things in the works. We're going to create an environment, an online environment for your kids and their dogs, about kids, about social responsibility with dogs, about responsibilities you may have in your home. We will address those things in a manner that young people, I think, will have a really, really good time. So look for that. That's going to be coming in the next month or so. We'll launch that out. We feel very, very strong. We love your feedback. We love your feedback. So we're trying to kind of farm right questions, but to be truthful with you, 85 to 90% of the questions are going to fall within what you would call 10 or 8 FAQs, frequently asked questions. You all have very similar needs, but a dog can be the most remarkable thing. It's not just pinching off the little annoyances. What if your dog can go with you anywhere it legally can? You know, what if there is no worrying about kenneling a dog? I can bring my dog anywhere. You know, we go camping, whatever. We have seen it for years and years and years. We have done this for people, and it makes us happy. Makes me happy.
So one of the things we say as we're wrapping up here is there is no perfection, but there is perfect partnership. So being able to come together to communicate clearly with the dog, there is nothing really you can't do. So taking the dog places, it's a wonderful thing to have the animal, that I can take Gypsy out in the world with me.
Sweet. Thank you for joining us. Please shoot your questions and or comments to us. We will be back next Wednesday for lunchtime Q&A.
Yep.
Thanks. See you. Bye. Have a good week.